It's our new theme song.
Can I join in? Can I play rhythm?
Now live from Dogleg Brewery in Fort Worth, Texas, it's time once again for You Can't Brew That on Television. Now here are your hosts, the Reverend Ryan Bono and Kyle Cucamonga LaPointe.
Hey, Rich, what's going on, man?
Not much, we're just down here trying to make up middle names for Kyle.
Well, there you go. You know, they call me Cucamonga, Kookie, Kyle.
Too many K's. Kyle. Just bad. That's some great alliteration coming from the producer tonight, the peppy producer.
Oh, I see what you did there with the, yeah.
Well, if I'm the Reverend Ryan and he's Cucamonga Kookie Kyle, can't you be the peppy producer? I think it works. Good evening, everyone, other than Rich. And welcome to Dogleg Brewery, where we come to you every Monday night and help you bridge the gap between frat boy and beer snob.
We got a good show tonight, man.
We're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
We've been bringing you a series of shows kind of aimed at beginners, and tonight is no different. This is for those of you who are really, you like beer, you recognize that there's good beer in the world outside of the ones that you get at the convenience store, and you just don't know where to start when you're at the grocery. You see a beer, you don't know if it's something you'd like. We're gonna try to help you solve that problem tonight.
Oh yeah, and it's for people that may be beginners or people that may be beyond beginners, but they've been drinking beer a long time. They've had a lot of different beers. They may just not know something about it.
Yeah,
so maybe we can shed some light and help.
So we're going to do what we can, as we do every week, and Brinkley's going to chime in and help out as well.
I brought a dog with me this time.
First, we need to get to our tasting.
We do. Let's open up a bottle. We got the all too familiar Dogfish Head, like we started our show with.
Absolutely.
This is the Dogfish Head Midas Touch. It's a lot different stuff.
Gold! That's right. We love gold. And I am still, this is the last week that I'm not drinking. So next week I may or may not be standing for the show. We'll have to wait and see.
I think it'll be a good thing because hopefully we'll be breaking in our new brewery with all the renovations done. We'll cross our fingers. We've got a crew working hard on it right now, trying to get it all done, and we think it should be ready to go here probably next week. I'm hoping. So that's
now this is a really neat beer that Dogfish Head has brought to us, and they've done this several times, something similar. They've had archaeologists dig up old vessels from Sumer, I believe. So Sumer, is this Sumerian?
This is King Midas's tomb in Egypt.
King Midas's tomb. And inside they found remnants of a beer-like drink that they would have had back then.
So it's kind of like a grain-based drink. It's got fruit in it, but mainly grain-based, and
there's some kind of spiciness in there too.
Oh yeah. I mean, but, you smell it and you get the like wild grape kind of a bitter tart type nose to it, and you get that a little bit.
Sorry.
Saffron in it.
There is.
Teddy informs us that there's saffron in it.
And it tastes awful thready. Thanks for that, Teddy.
And you can definitely taste the grape in there, and you
yes.
can smell the grape too. It's pretty significant. It kind of smells like a white wine almost.
Yeah, but I'd say the grape is a little dirtier.
There's plenty of it's definitely dirtier than a white wine. There's definitely some green in there too.
It's an overall sweet beer, not highly hopped. I believe that this one is only hopped with enough hops to basically keep it from going bad, but they used some of the other types of spices, if I remember correctly, to make this beer. Like they would use a different bittering spice back then. They didn't always use hops. So, yeah, pretty good stuff, man. I hope you're enjoying it with us. It's a high alcohol content, so be careful with it. And our camera just ejected no tape, so that was a lot of fun.
Looks like Chris, coming to us from the Everglades, is enjoying his Midas Touch. Chris, let us know what you think.
Yeah, good for him. Rich, we should probably talk a little bit about the this week's trivia before we move on. We'll go ahead and throw it out there.
Definitely, let's hear it.
For Bono, and throw it out there for the audience. Once again, audience, try to keep your answers to yourself so Bono doesn't cheat and look at your answers. But
I'm going to cheat either way.
Save it up. look it up. Don't look it up, but know it towards the end of the show. We'll ask you again. If you happen to think you know the answer better than Bono, you can fire off. But Rich, if you're ready, let's go ahead and ask Bono what the trivia is this week.
All right, if you're ready, tonight's trivia question, Bono. What are 3 breweries located in Portsmouth, New Hampshire?
I'm going to go with Dogfish Head being one of them. Or no, they're in Delaware. Harpoon?
Yay.
I think Harpoon is
We're
one of
in
them.
Delaware.
Delaware, whatever. All those states are the same. All those New England states, I mean, they're like the size of Dallas, you know? Like, who cares?
So, is that all you got? You're not even going to put in... You're going to put your list. There's 3 breweries. Let's do it.
I can think... I have a good feeling that Harpoon is up there. And that's all I can... Because I'm pretty sure Dogfish Head is in Delaware.
All right, but you're saying dog... You got to say them, right? I mean, you're there with them. May as well
Yeah, I mean...
carry them with you.
Yeah, all right.
And so, name a 3rd beer. You got to...
I can't even guess. I can't even...
How about Shinerbach or something? Spetzel Brewery.
I'm going to go with Newcastle.
There you go. And Newcastle is the 3rd. All right.
Newcastle, Dogfish Head, and Harpoon.
Everybody else out there can have the rest of the episode to think of the correct answer while we have the rest of our show going on. So, first thing, let's talk about best damn beer. Let's bring it up
definitely
early.
talk about best damn beer.
Best damn beer competition, something we came up with a while back, and we've been fleshing out how the idea works. Went through some of the judging processes early in Bluebonnet and went through, and it was an interesting process to taste wonderful beers and to rate beers. And it was always another interesting side note that you're doing it based on style. So you may have 4 fantastic beers that you can only push 2 or 3 to the next round. Well, the problem with number 4 and number 3, they may be a better beer than 1 and 2, but they're not to style.
And in fact, as judges, we encountered this quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And where, I mean, I had several, probably 4 or 5 beers that I rated when I was judging for the Bluebonnet that were just tremendous. But I couldn't give them high marks because they weren't tremendous in style. They were just wonderful, wonderful beers to drink.
They have all the right combination of flavors that just makes it for an enjoyable experience. But if it doesn't have this type of malty, this type of hoppy, yada yada, it doesn't meet style.
And this is where you come in.
That's
Just
right.
Go ahead and enter where can they enter?
Well, you can go online. I believe Richard has some.
Yeah,
information.
doglegbrewery.com is actually the brewery's home site. It's featuring a link that you can click on right at the top, and it takes you to a long description of what's required, what it takes, how to do it. The entry fee secured by PayPal, so we don't get our grubby hands on it until it's in the right, accounting folder or whatnot.
Now,
And the way this is going to work, you guys, we're going to get maximum $500 entry fee from this, and our prize is going to be at least half of that. 1 prize, 1 winner, best damn beer. It's going to be an awesome prize. Custom airbrushed stainless steel 3-gallon keg, brand new. We're really looking forward to it.
airbrushed by local artists.
Yep, and we'll talk about Stubby and his airbrushing. The guy is phenomenal. We'll put some links up here. We really should have had that ready for this week.
Well, we should do that. We'll definitely have that ready for next week. Chris, coming to us from the Everglades, wants to know how we choose the best damn beer.
The best damn beer competition that's what's going to be so exciting about it, is we're going to do it live.
Yeah.
We're going to have 7 judges, a panel of judges. Everything's going to be live. We're going to have the rankings of beers in front of us, so you'll be able to see and keep track of what's on there. And you guys will be able to see who the brewer is, what they're brewing, what they called their beer, anything else. We'll put some of those attributes online. Us as the judges, along with the other 5 that we have on the list, which Dave O, I just see logged in, and he's one of our judges for this competition. Well, we're going to have everybody judging live, telling you what you think while you're tasting it. So if you taste, oh man, I get a little chocolate notes, this is wonderful, and then we all talk about it, and the guy on the end goes, this is crap, and then he throws it off his board.
What would he say, Rich?
Oh God, that is awful.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh God, that is awful.
And if it is awful, it's awful. And that's the way we look at things. If it goes off the top 10, that beer is then awful. But regardless of that, we're going to have a good time, and we're hoping the spread of 7 judges. We've handpicked. We have about 14 or 15 judges we feel are really good for this competition, and each time we're going to mix it up and do something else. And yes, Dave says you can bribe the judges, although that's not ethical or required.
Neither are we.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and Chris wants to know what kind of attributes we're looking for.
Or not.
It's if you like the beer or not.
Yeah.
I mean, those of us who know us, I can. Yeah, okay. Chris has had too much of that line in Cocoberry Vice already.
So the attributes that you're looking for in a beer is it a good beer? And I think if you can be unique, that probably help you.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be the 15th barley wine in the competition because then you're just run of the mill.
Well, I'll be excited about that.
If we're saturated with barley wines, I just can't imagine the top leaderboard being all barley wines. People will get tired of it.
So if you have an old ale aged in whiskey,
yeah, if you got something, man, just bring it. All we can say is whatever the best thing that you have available, you can only enter 1 beer per brewer. Put your best damn beer in the competition and let it do its thing.
in case you can't tell, we're really excited about this competition.
It's going to happen early June.
As far as we know, it's a one of a kind, and it was cooked up here at Dogleg Brewery. I mean, this.
You know, if people have done, it's basically a similar premise to a best of show. So this happens in a similar fashion, but this is going to be a live experience, judged by points. The end of it, the bet, you know, it's going to be like a golf tournament where the leading money winner at the end of the year may not have ever won a tournament. You may be second place on everybody's list, but you've got the most points. You may be first, somebody may be first on 4 judges and 4th on 3, and they don't win enough as that second place because it's all about points. It's all about getting the majority of judges thinking yours is the best.
So straight.
Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So
well, let's rock on. Let's move on.
We've got just a quick bit of news from the Fort Worth brewing world tonight. Raw Brewery, right here in Fort Worth, Texas, has begun reinstalling their roof.
It's great.
And this is very exciting news. They're going to have pictures on their website in a few days that we'd like to bring you here on the show next week.
And yeah, and it's really a good experience when they're putting together their roof so they can actually brew beer instead of coming out to local club events of brewing small batches compared to what they brew and commenting on how bad the dough balls are in the mash. And, you know, I mean, it can be helpful, but it can also be a little bit mean.
Sounds like
so, yeah,
they had an experience.
Jason Lyons came out with us, and he's a funny guy. Yeah. Jason and his wife Pepper, and they were Jason's a head brewer there at RAR these days, and so he came out and was helping out at the big brew here at the Cap and Hare. It was a lot of fun. That was Sunday at Steve and Vicky Brown's house, and a couple of our other judges, they had a crawfish boil at the same time, and that was just phenomenal. Oh, man, best crawfish I've ever eaten. He outdid himself this year. It was great.
That's something for a guy who spends half of every week in New Orleans.
Yeah, I've had some crawfish.
Yeah.
So
did you want to talk about the Celtic, or have we talked
about
enough beer
competitions? We'll talk about the Celtic another time. I think the Celtic is
ahead with beer competitions.
Yeah, the Celtic's coming on in 2 weeks. Go to www.celticbrewoff.com and get your styles that are more Irish, English, and Scottish together of those islands and their descents. It's a really cool competition. So www.celticbrewoff.com tell you all the info you need. Until then, let's go on to our main topic.
Tonight, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about recognizing beers and flavors when you're at the grocery or at the beer store or wherever, and you want to pick up something to take home.
You know, part of what you're trying to do in that process is know before you buy it. Because you may not like a sweet beer, you may not like a hoppy beer, but you just don't know what those ingredients are or how to recognize them even on a label. So that's an important thing. And one thing that tells you that more than anything is style. Like if you were to have a cream ale, for instance, something we've talked about before, you would know that it's carbonated and not nitrogenated.
Unless it's a UK cream ale. At which point, there's a very, very good chance it's going to be nitrogenated.
Really?
Absolutely. In fact, if you can find me a cream ale from the UK that's not nitrogenated.
Well, I was doing some research the other day, and I stumbled upon a couple of things. Richard and I were talking about it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, let me see if I can Google it. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It looks like I've been officially proven wrong.
No, I think Richard was looking for something.
So
There was something that popped up. It was a study or a research project, and I can't remember exactly what was going on, but it was some
Yeah,
doctor.
I think this is it. Do you want me to? It's gonna look ugly if I pull it up here. You want to?
Okay.
Do you have your laptop up on the web?
yeah, go ahead and email it to me, Rich, and I'll.
Just
I mean, I don't know. I think this is what you were telling me about. I don't know.
Anyway,
what's the URL?
It's www. So
Here,
yeah,
he can just type it in. He's there right now.
Okay. NOI. God, what is wrong with people? Okay. SWRONG.com.
Tell me you guys actually made this website.
Huh. Oh, see, yeah, that's the website I found, Rich. I think that's the exact one I found. Yes, it's
If you go
www.bonoiswrong.com.
Rich,
Oh, okay, I
why
gotcha.
don't you go ahead and flash that on the screen for everybody? I think that they'd really appreciate it.
I think if you go to the section of things that Bono is wrong about,
Okay.
it will talk about the study of Dr. Corkenshire and how his cream ale, that it's a common misnomer for people to call English beers cream ales.
Sure enough, there it is in black and white.
So, yeah, if you guys at home want to take a look at that site, that's www.bonoiswrong.com. And I think there's some interesting facts in there.
There's some really neat stuff on
That's
that
a really cool
website.
site. I'm gonna bookmark this.
Oh, I didn't think I would ever cry on one of the shows. Oh, God.
Sorry about that. I've been keeping that
that is
secret from
awful.
Bono for like 2 weeks now. It's been
I'm
killing me.
I'll definitely check that site out later. But for now, we need to talk about beer.
All right.
Because if you want a big, heavy beer, the kind that I typically drink, unless I'm wrong.
Right, you are.
If you want a big,
Checking.
heavy beer when you go to the store and you see something called a cream ale, you are not going to drink it whether it's an American or a UK cream ale.
Yeah, you're not. Look, cream ales are typically lighter, and you know that based on the style name. And there's references available for the style names in that situation. BJCP.org, I believe,
Yeah.
is the beer judging competition program or whatever it stands for. It's a great list, comprehensive list of beer styles, what they're called, and attributes about.
And really, if you're just getting into the beer drinking thing, a lot of times it's a good idea to zero in on a style.
Yeah.
You know, you might go to the store and say, okay, like I had St. Arnold's Springbok a few weeks ago during You Can't Brew That on television. I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to go and I'm going to try to find other traditional bocks. And chances are when you go to the beer store and ask the people who work there, they probably work there because they like beer.
Yeah.
And if you say, hey, you know, I enjoyed the traditional bock, can you find me some? They'll hunt you something down.
But they may have more of that style from a different brewery. More my box, more spring box, you know.
Yeah, and then, and that's exactly how you branch out. Is, you know, you like traditional bock. Well, you know, Maybach is kind of similar, so maybe I'll jump over and check out that style too. And so, you know, it's I think the big key is just finding what you like early. If you like malt, like
finding a
hops.
style, and I think that's important. You find something you like, and a lot of people. If you go up to Flying Saucer, where they have some wonderful, wonderful people that work there, like Jen, for instance. Jen is awesome, and she can really she can pick out a beer. If she asks you, you know, what kind of beer do you like, people will be like, oh, well, you know, and they'll try to get all. And we've seen so many people wax poetic in there about what kind of beers they have, but they really don't know what they're talking about. All she needs to know is give me 2 or 3 styles that you like, 2 or 3 actual beers, and she'll know what style they are. She'll be able to pick out those ingredients and those styles and find something in the shelf that'll work for you.
When my sister was out here for Christmas, she went to see Jen, and Jen asked her what she likes, and she says, I like the Duchess de Bourgogne. And within about 30 seconds, Jen had 3 beers lined up in front of my sister, and she loved all 3 of them. So,
I'm not sure when Jan LaPointe just got back from walking the dog, but if she didn't experience the
www.bonoiswrong.com,
Yes.
you'll definitely want to check it.
Bonoiswrong.com.
I'll put the URL up for everybody.
That's how you pronounce it. I was way off. I'm sorry.
It was troublesome when you were reading it. I couldn't quite tell what was going on.
Okay, well, she caught it, but I went ahead and
It's all
put it up
these
there.
goofy long URLs. Bono is wrong. Frontier Television.
Benoist.
Benoist.
I thought it was Benoist or something like that. But no, okay. So the first thing you want to do when you're trying to recognize a style is to pick out the types of ingredients that you like, because there are really only 4 styles, 4 types of ingredients that are going in water. You got generally, without something like this that has tons of adjuncts and different types of fruits and sugar inducers. But you're going to have malt. You're going to have water and yeast. Those are lower characters that you probably won't figure out first off. But malt and hops make a huge impact on the flavor profile, and that you can often find that information on the bottle. It'll mention hops if it's a hoppy beer. It'll mention malt if it's a malty beer. Malt is key for sweet. Hops is key for bitter. So those are 2 things to really remember. You know, like we talked about, you go and grab a bottle. For instance, we bought a few bottles here, and they'll tell you about the beer on the bottle. Read the bottle. Pull one out of the 6-pack. Look at it. We've got a Moylan's Imperial Stout here. We know what an Imperial Stout is. We know without even looking at the description what we're going to get if we get this style of a beer. Or at least get in the ballpark, right? But on the back, it'll tell you a little bit about Imperial Stout. It says, originally brewed to withstand the long voyage from London to Tsarist Russia, Imperial Stouts are rich, thick, and intense. Named in the honor of our St. Patrick's Day piper, Ryan Sullivan's Imperial Stout brings chocolate truffles, espresso coffee, burnt currants, and the sweetness of sherry to mind. This is a classic cigar stout. And so, yeah, that's exactly what it is. It tells you about the beer.
So, and then here's another one that we pulled. And while I'm talking about this, Rich, could you please pull up or get ready the picture I sent you earlier for Blue Paddle? This one says that the Belgian-style double is crafted by and made famous by the Trappist monks of Belgium. Our version is deep ruby red and malty with just enough phenols and esters from the Belgian yeast to bring the complex flavors from an ale of this style into balance. Once again, we're finding out that this is going to be malty and it's going to be highly phenolic. There's going to be a lot of esters and things like that that are coming from the yeast from byproducts of the yeast.
And you may not catch a word like phenolic, or it may not register in your mind, but malt does. And a Belgian double is typical malty sweet beer. Imperial stouts can vary. They can be malty, but they can also be more bitter. They're traditionally going to have quite a bit of hops because they wanted to make them survive that journey.
Right.
So they are going to have some bitterness, but you can catch that stuff in the label, and that tells you so much. So first thing you do is pick out those attributes you like.
Pick out those attributes you like. Read the labels. Rich, if you could put the label up for the Blue Paddle now, I want to talk about that for just a second. And everybody will be able to see that, once again, we're being told what it is. It's crafted with malt-only brewing and noble hops. So we're not going to have any kind of adjuncts. We're not going to... Malt-only basically says no raw barley, I would guess.
Yeah.
And no wheat.
And no wheats, no adjuncts, anything else.
There's something else that's on this label, and something we might want to get into in another episode, but I do want to call everyone's attention to it. If you look at the bottom right of the label, you see a picture of a serving glass, and this particular beer wants to be served in a Pilsner glass. Many brewers are going to tell you what kind of glass is best for serving their particular beer in. So just something else I wanted to call to your attention. So I don't know, I hope everybody got to see that. And
yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that'll do that, and I don't know if any of these have that, but a lot of breweries are starting to do that, where they'll put that style of glass on there.
New Belgium is very good about
They're very
that.
good about it, exactly. And most breweries, if they put that, it's going to be a style like this. It's going to be a glass that's some sort of a wine style, red wine type glass, and that what that does is that allows the smells to come out so you can smell what you're drinking. A Pilsner straight glass, pint glass, doesn't really do a great job with smells. The taste is okay, but the smells go away. So when you've got a really fragrant beer, you're going to lose some of the subtleties about that beer because, you get more taste from your smell than you ever realize, unless you've got a friend that doesn't smell.
Unless you have a friend that doesn't smell.
He's ecclesiastic or something, right?
Yes, I believe that is the technical term.
Okay.
So we talked about reading a label for clues, using all of your senses, and guys, this is the year 2010.
Yes.
If we've already passed the point where we've decided what style we like and what ingredients we like, go Google it.
Yeah.
Or
go home.
Check out ratebeer.com, beeradvocate.com, just great websites.
And look up the style that you like. Beer Advocate is really good about writing all the style, and if you read one or two people's posts on there, almost everybody on there is a beer judge. So they're going to put this fancy thing about I'm tasting it in this kind of a glass and this kind of a room, and you go a little bit.
Some of them get a little carried away with it,
and that's good though. it's a good resource.
Good for them.
Yeah, exactly. They really enjoy it. So it's a wonderful thing. It's a great tool.
That's the
tell you the style name though, and then you can take that style name and go to a site like bjcp.org and look that style up and read some of the characteristics.
Yeah, and that's another good point. You're at the pub, let's say the Flying Saucer, you just grabbed the fire sale, and you don't know what kind of style it is. You just know that it's a $2.50 pint of beer.
You're getting a cheap pint.
And it comes up. This happened to my friend the Cheese Guy just a few weeks ago. He grabbed the fire sale and happened to absolutely love it. So we went home and Googled it, and he found a whole myriad of beers that are very similar.
Yep.
And now he knows that he likes malt.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots of malt.
Yeah, we could have told him that.
Now I could have told him that.
Yeah, from the fact that which beers of ours he liked.
Yeah.
He liked the generally sweeter types of beers. Was crying when he had our wheat because he wanted to take it home with him and he couldn't. But it happens.
So let's. Do you feel like this topic we kind of glazed the surface? Yeah, we can talk for days
about this kind of stuff forever. I mean, if you're going to go and try to find beers, I did this in college, and I'm sure you did too, where I just went to the store and picked up different beers. Because I always liked beer. I liked good beer, and I liked beer I couldn't always get from the store, and the non-Bud Lights and the non-Miller Lights. So that was the first thing that I started to do in my path on drinking beer, was to just pick up a six-pack that I never had before. And that's how you find some beers and beer styles that you don't like. And that's why we're talking about this kind of a thing. Well, maybe you do know you've had these beers, you've been drinking for 3-4 years, drinking different beers than just your typical Budweiser, and now you're going to say, okay, well, I've had some Red Stripe, and I've had some Newcastle, and I've had some Guinness, and so you know all these styles, or basically you've had the beers, and so which one do you like the most? Go into that and do some of these things like we're talking about. Isolate what the ones that you were or that you liked were, figure out what the flavor components were of that style, and you're in great shape. You can go on from there and find a lot more beers that you'll enjoy without having to go through the troubleshooting of just randomly trying bad beer.
And just to shatter any misconceptions that you might have now, you're going to have beer that you don't like.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to happen, but you pawn it off on other people, you save it for guests.
Mm-hmm.
There's a million ways to get rid of a beer you don't like, but it's going to happen. It's just part of the process. Well, we've all had beers that we don't like.
Beer connoisseurs over the world will say there's over 300 styles in Belgium alone, just in that country. So, there's hundreds and hundreds of styles. Not everybody likes red wine. Not everybody likes port. Not everybody likes whiskey. There's different types of flavors that people don't like in certain things. So, yeah, you're going to have beers and styles that you don't like. So, don't be ashamed of that. Be proud of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And give us a call if you want any help.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always
Shoot us
down
an
for a
email.
trip to the beer store.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd love to accompany somebody to a beer store and spend their money instead of ours.
Absolutely.
So,
now, real quick, we're kind of excited about this idea. And in its infancy. I mean, we've been talking about it for a few hours, but we do want to do an episode in the future where we're going to be pairing. We're going to want to invite people here to the studio with us. They want to make it a pretty limited engagement, but we want to do pairings. We want to bring
about
people
food
in
pairing with beer.
and pair different beers with foods. And like even local homebrewers, if you want to send in your beers and we can pair your beer with the food.
Right.
But when you pair beer with food, just like when you pair wine with food, really, really neat things happen. I mean, I had a beer when I was in Sacramento a few weeks ago that was paired with a Spanish cheese, and both were just extraordinary. And then after the tasting was done, I decided to have another pint of that beer. Didn't really like it all that much. I mean,
the beer itself wasn't
the
good.
beer itself wasn't all that, or maybe it was just kind of underwhelming. But
they can accentuate themselves.
Yeah, they really do. And so
we always cook a meal. One of our things that we do on Valentine's Day, we cook a meal that we wouldn't normally have, and we made a scallops. And what kind of a sauce was that this year, Megan? It was a really thick, rich cream sauce, and we had Duchess de Bourgogne, which is a sour Flemish East brown, and it is those two together. We just bought the beer separate and happened to be making this, and I thought, oh man, this beer is going to overpower these scallops. Scallops are really light, but the rich, thick cream sauce, they fit so well, and it was the whole experience. Like, you just wanted to eat a bite and take a drink, and eat a bite and take a drink, because every time you did that, it made both of them better. And that's a wonderful experience.
So that's something we want people to start thinking about, and we'd also like you to start thinking about next week's beer, because next week is the episode before Cinco de Mayo,
right?
Which is
the
a
Cuban celebration.
big Cuban holiday where we...
You can read more about how all those Mexican Union countries are the same at www.bonoiswrong.com.
That's right. It's a very informative website. And so next week we will be tasting a beer from Cerveceria Modelo, which is called Negra Modelo, or Negra Modelo.
Negra Modelo.
Negra Modelo. So anyway, Kyle.
Oh, trivia. Let's go back to the trivia,
yes,
folks.
Trivia.
So I asked the question earlier, name 3 breweries from Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
And I said...
It's Portsmouth.
And I said Harpoon, Dogfish Head, and Cerveceria Modelo.
Oh, God, that is awful.
Yeah, so...
All right, and here is the first person to have looked it up, and that would be Fly Girl. And these are correct.
Red Hook?
Can you believe that?
She might legitimately know that. That's her...
she did?
She might legitimately... Might. I'm not saying she didn't cheat, but if anyone in the audience would know.
I figured the Portsmouth Brewery, you could, like, guess that there would be a brewery called Portsmouth Brewery. So I went with that. But the other 2 are phenomenal, world-renowned beers.
When I visited Red Hook, it was in Seattle. When I went to the brewery.
According to where I was looking, it wasn't. But
okay. Well, according to the brewery,
maybe they have a brew pub there.
Yeah, maybe.
Hold on. I can solve this. There's a website I know.
Okay.
Let's find out about that website next week.
We'll look at it. Well, I actually thought Red Hook was from Seattle earlier. I just looked up this question and was...
Well,
so I could be wrong.
In a few minutes, you'll officially be right, because once it's on the internet, it can't be denied. So until then, please always remember that we are not professionals.
So please try this at home. All right. Hello. Not telling you anything about it.
I think.
Not telling anyone about it. I barely tweaked on it. Yes.
Oh God, that is awful. With a Puerto Rican summer. That was the one that I just started crying when I saw that. Oh my gosh.
I got a kick out of making that, man. I had just the most fun in the world. So, I guess we could Google some information, the people out there in the world, and look up whether Red Hook originated in
It's
Seattle,
yeah, it's probably got like a brew pub or
or
something
if it's
out
got
there.
a brew pub there in New Hampshire. But in
I know that it originated in Seattle.
and that's fine. That wasn't my question, so that would make me right.
That wasn't your question. That would still make
But
me
still.
wrong at bonowaswrong.com.
I think we should definitely add a section each week about how Bono is wrong should include the wrong answers that we've got for trivia, and then I'll make my answer for the previous week's trivia correct. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I hope that this is a living, breathing website. I hope that we're always adding to it.
Oh, it definitely will be living and breathing. I spent some time making sure it was easy to update.